What's up, everyone? This is the Panda Photographer, and we're going to be doing a Yi or Yi M1 mirrorless camera setup guide. Because I don't see not one single guide online at this time, which is April 18th, 2019, and this camera has been out for quite some time. So we're gonna get started here in just a moment. So if you don't have this camera, and if you do have this camera, take this video with a grain of salt that we are going through this menu settings and how to set it up, and I'm going to tell you what you should set up to get stabilization to work and why it doesn't work in 4K 30 frames a second. I hope you like that delicious bokeh in the background. So I'm the Panda Photographer. I travel as a travel photographer. I do a little bit of consulting. I actually help a lot of photographers that ask questions, that ask critical questions about photography, portrait photography mostly. You have a photographer that does it all. When it comes down to content, this is what matters. And I want to address a very important issue about this camera. Now, there's a lot of reviews on this channel that says this is a really bad camera, and I don't think anyone took the time out to dive into the camera. Now, I just recently this morning took some footage, and I'm just now editing that first day of footage, and I have to say, color grading is flexible with this camera. Oh my goodness, really exceptional. So when it comes to the image quality, it's really good for a micro four thirds camera. But first and foremost, let's go dive into settings. This is a touchscreen, so mind you, touchscreen. Now ISO. Now when you're shooting video, its ISO cannot be lower than 800. Its base ISO or gain is 800. Now, if we go into the ISO settings, it can go all the way up. Well, actually, we need to scroll up to ISO 25,600. Now, you're not going to push you that far, are you? But with that said, if we scroll back down, this is the native ISO for video. It's 800 for this particular camera. Just like any micro four thirds camera, it is actually set at 800. So keep that in mind. White balance. Now you can put it on auto continuous auto white balance if you want, but if you have different fluorescent lights in your home or in your studio or anywhere you go, you may want to change it based on the conditions. And I found the conditions to work adequate enough when I'm used to, say, I have a different color light source in my apartment or in my hostel or hotel or environment where I am. So there's plenty of ISO features here. I mean, white balance features. You got sunny, you got shadow, you got cloudy. We used cloudy this morning shooting video, which I'm going to probably show you in a little bit. And if we scroll up, if you have any other, you can also customize your Kelvin temperature based on your needs. So if you are say you are a somewhat intermediate to advanced user and you got this camera, you want to use this camera for some B-roll, or you want to use this camera for a backup, you can control your Kelvin temperature and you can get really good color representation. Now this is using a Sony sensor on this particular micro four thirds camera, so take this video with a grain of salt. That, in my opinion, the colors are really vibrant and very sharp and very crispy. A lot of there's a lot of detail when shooting video. And not only that, there's a lot of there's some good contrast and separation with this camera. So it's not bad camera. So you got medium modes. You can change the medium modes if you want. So we got spot medium and we got molten medium if you want to change it. But I have it on center weight medium at this time. I do change it periodically throughout my shooting process. So if I'm shooting photos, which I haven't done yet, but we've been doing video. Now, keep in mind, this particular screen in the back, it is not articulated. So you would not be able to see any of what you're shooting, but it does have an HDMI out, so you can plug in a small 5-inch LCD monitor if you want to this. So next is the focusing modes. Okay. Now, the focusing modes on this particular camera, okay, you have single point autofocus, continuous autofocus, manual focus, or manual focus with peaking focus. So all these work really well, and you can absolutely take advantage of that when you're shooting. Let me just take this lens cap off so you guys can see. I'm not sure you can see through the camera, but there's red indications that say, hey, you're using focus peaking mode. Okay, so I can literally, you can see the chairs are in focus, the hallway at f3.5, shutter speed at 60. But if we go back into the menu and go back into focus, and we can continue to do continuous autofocus. I recommend continuous autofocus, and here's the reason why. If you're about to shoot video, keep in mind, press the circle button on the right hand side, and you press it one time, you get a display that says, oh, all the 88 focus points are in focus, are checked. You press it again, you get one focus point that's focused, but it is touchscreen, so you can touch it, whatever you want to focus. But if you want the entire screen to be focused, just press it one time, then press record, and I assure you, the footage that I will show you later on this week, you're gonna be surprised that my face was in focus the whole entire time. It did not hunt. 90% of these videos online demonstrated that it hunted, it back focused, it focused on the back. That's because no one took the time out to actually dive into these menu settings. So keep that in mind. Now we got touch shooting. If you want to do touch shooting, which on the back of the screen here, you touch it one time, which I can demonstrate. It takes a picture. If you shoot video, it would do the same thing. It starts recording. So, or the record button would automatically start recording. Now keep in mind that the record button has a delay, has a 3-second delay. So always keep that in your notes, that when you press the record button, there's a slight 3-second delay. So let me demonstrate that for you. 1, 2, 3. Now it records. So you guys understand that it does have a 3-second delay. Now back into the menu. Face detection. Like I was saying previously, this works with, if you press the circle button once more and have all the 88 focus points in focus, face detection works. That's how my face and the footage that I will show you later on this week, why it was not hunting. So it is a really great 4K camera, but in low light situations, it does kind of suffer when it comes down to image quality. But just dump it down to ISO 800. Make sure you have adequate lighting if you're using low light. And as a videographer, you do want you do want to shoot under light conditions. So if you're shooting in low light situations and you have a street light, you want to be under that street light to get as much light through that lens as possible. All right. Now HDR mode is for photos, not for video. So we're not able to do that as of right now because we're not shooting in photos right now, unless we go to camera mode, which is still not highlighted. Priority, shutter speed, manual, and it's not highlighted. Professional, custom, but we are going to be shooting in manual mode. So HDR photo does work, and it depends on how you use it, but most people would not. Some people do not like HDR photos, some people do like HDR photos. Now, drive mode, you have single, continuous, 2-second delay, or 10-second delay. Now with the 2-second delay, there is actually a 3-second delay. With the 10-second delay, there's actually 11-second to 12-second delay. Okay, so mind you, same thing that happens in video happens in photos. So, and if we go back to Wi-Fi setup, now I did try to use the app, and I'm sorry to report this, but the app is just buggy. It's telling me that there's an update for it when I already update the app, and it keeps telling me that there's an update for it. So I don't recommend at this time using the app for any other issues. Just go through the camera and set it up in camera. You don't need the app until they fix the app, because the app has a 2.2 star rating right now on iOS. It's not ready. It's not. So, but if we scroll up, if we scroll up, okay, we got time lapse. Yes, you can shoot time lapse, and it takes some astonishing time lapse video. So you can set the time lapse on. You can set the variable times like 5 seconds, 2.5 seconds, 10 seconds after each photo, and the duration, how long, 30 minutes. And if you want the video settings, because it will convert it into a video for you, but make sure that you are in a spot where it's not gonna flicker, do your auto white balance, because this camera does flicker when you're shooting video or stills. So keep that in mind. But in my experience, it flickered just a little bit, but I'm gonna show you in the video processing that what was flickering. But yeah, you can do amazing time lapse with this, so it will convert it into a video for you, so you don't have to do it in post processing. But make sure you get your settings right and make sure you get adequate. So some of you may ask the question, if I put this on a slider or a motorized slider, would it flicker? I don't know that for sure yet, but I'm pretty sure if you're in a low light situation, it may flicker because of the light, and the sensors kind of compensate for light. But like I said, if you shoot it in low light situations, you may want to absolutely be under a light source, like a very, for instance, street light that is powerful, and stay under that light, or add your own light source. But with that said, we got video modes. Now I was shooting in 2K. Let me tell you about the video modes here, okay? Now you can shoot it in 4K, which is 3840 by 2160 at 30p. Now, anti-shake does not work in 4K, but it does sort of work in 2K, which is shot at 2480 by 48 by 1536 at 30p. Now it does slightly work. It's not as bad as the 4K. 4K footage is just sloppy. It's not sloppy. It's just you can see you're stepping. But in 2K, it does kind of stabilize because it's actually digital stabilization on this camera. It is not a sensor that is 5-axis stabilization. This is a small body, which I know Sony has small bodies. The A6300 has small bodies. The A65 has small bodies. Why not this camera has small bodies? The M50 has stabilization, but it has digital stabilization. This also has digital stabilization on the body. You can shoot in 1080p 60 frames a second if you like, 30 frames 60 frames per second, and stabilization actually works really good in 1080p and 30 frames a second. But you also have 1080p 24 frames a second. Are you listening, Canon? This camera has 1080p 24 frames a second. So make sure you upgrade your EOS RP to make sure it has 1080p 24 frames a second. I digress. But you also got 720, 60 for slow mode if you want to use slow mode. 720p in 30 frames and 720p in 24 frames. So, but we're going to keep it at 4K. And basic setup. So time, date, language. If you want the shutter sound to stay off, which I recommend because that does drain a little bit of battery. Operation sound on low. You do want the operation sound to be on low because if you've been on high, that also eats up a lot of battery juice. Now this is only a 900 mAh battery. It only lasted about an hour and 4 minutes. So, and that's with me recording, stop recording, standby modes, and right now when it goes off as you see it, and as you saw it already, that's standby mode. But other than that, you have sleep modes, which is 1 minute. You got auto power off, which is in 30 minutes. You got color space. Now I'm going to tell you about the color space. You have an option to choose sRGB, or you have an option to choose Adobe RGB. So it's your choice if you want to. If you want to be creative with the Adobe RGB, that's fine, but sRGB works really fine. So, and the brightness. Now I have it at 0, and as you guys can see, I do have an LED light right up there, and you can see that it's at 0. Now I can dim it to save battery, or I can increase it to eat up more battery. It is optional. Alright, so I have not tested out the AE, which is the autofocus and bracketing features quite yet, because I haven't shot any photos with this quite yet. So I will let you guys know in a future update when I do a review on photos for this particular camera, for photos only. What we are focusing on is the whole entire setup and menu setup for this particular camera. I do apologize for that ahead of events. I tried to activate it. It seems like in all the modes it just didn't want to activate. But I am shooting in RAW format if I choose to shoot stills, which I am going to shoot stills because I want to color grade the photos myself and show you in real time or in a future video what would happen if I was to grade these photos. Now, image expiration ratio is at 4.3, which is standard. Now you could go 16:9, I believe. So, and image quality is a 20 megapixel sensor, which is a Sony sensor, which I just said earlier. And flash mode, I turned that off, but you can turn it on if you're using a hot shoe flash. That's if you are using a flash on the hot shoe. And here we go. Card setup. Now you can format a card, you can delete images if you want, that's up to you. Format, just to show you the formats, you got JPEG S, which is normal, JPEG medium, which is fine, JPEG L, which means large, super fine. Then you have RAW. Just to show you guys the settings there. And go up one more. We got autofocus assist lamp, which is in front of the camera. Then we do have auto playback if you want to play auto playback for about 5 seconds. Then we have a display to grid. If you guys don't know what a grid is, show you what the grid is. We are going to display the grid. Ooh, it did not display the grid this time. Yes, it did. It's black. Now, I'm not sure you can see the grid, but I can see it. But let's try to change the color of this grid, make it more transparent. Oh, you also have heaven and earth. So how that works is you can see the top and the bottom, but it's not very clear either, and I wish it was white instead of black. So if Xiaomi was to update the firmware, please turn it to white instead of black, because it's really hard to see. And I can see it, but I'm not sure if you guys can see it on camera. And I can't see through my application. I'm recording this from my other camera, and I can't really barely see it. So it's just, I would like to use it if it was in white or a lighter color, and we have anti-shake on because we are actually shooting in 2K. Now let's go back. I'm going to show you guys the firmware. Body firmware, lens firmware is up to date. Now how to update the firmware is you got to go to the website, download the firmware, put it on an SD card, put the SD card in, and then update the firmware that way. Now if we were to go to back into the main settings, ISO, make sure that's in. You change the video center to 4K. Now you can see that anti-shake was off and stays off because it's not accessible in 4K. It's only accessible in 2K, 1080p, 1080p 30 frames a second, or 60 frames a second, or 720p. So now if we go back and change that to 2K, which is 40p, and we go up, we can turn it back on, and now you can see that it is absolutely on and you can use it. So, and if I was to record any footage, and look at that bokeh in the back, I love this Sigma lens. So I'm recording this on my Sony A77 camera with my Sigma 18-35. This is a really good camera, by the way. But anyway, you can see battery life, how much storage space I have, which is on autofocus, continue autofocus, shooting manual. You can see that I'm shooting at ISO 800. All the white balance is on, and I'm shooting raw. And as I demonstrated earlier, you can see where anti-shake icon comes on in the right corner, along with the continuous autofocus indicator. And it's telling me that I have 4 hours and 42 minutes left. So I can keep recording, but here's the thing, guys. You guys are not aware of this, but some of you guys are asking this question: why does it cut off when I'm recording like 7 minutes of 4K footage? I'm gonna tell you why that is, alright? That's because, for one, it's absolutely heating up. The center inside is heating up. And when it is heating up, it turns itself off. That's because it has a certain temperature threshold. Now, if it senses that it's hitting about 60 Celsius, it will shut itself off. So, and I did notice that today, but since it's springtime and it's a little bit warmer now, I'm not sure if in the summertime would this have any long-term effects. But just like any other mirrorless sensors like this A6300, when it had its shares of overheating on that Sony camera. Sorry everyone, let me get a drink of water really quickly here. So, with that said, I am going to absolutely show you now some footage from earlier today and Premiere Pro. Now, take this with a grain of salt, everyone. What you're about to see is footage that I wasn't going to color grade. Now, in the second part of my first day, I did say that I wanted to show a real world expectation on the video quality, but something told me, and I was just being curious. something told me to just like color grade this motherfucker. just toy around with the curves a little bit and see what you get. So I did what I did best. So here we are. We're in Adobe Premiere, and I just want you guys to just listen. Let me make sure that we are set for the audio experience here and on the hardware. Well, we are. Okay. Now I'm gonna pause the music. So now I'm gonna pause the music, and I'm going to show you some footage. Now, this is not a stabilization stick, it's just a selfie extended stick. So, mind you that this camera itself is supposed to have built-in digital stabilization, which I tried to see if I can activate it. It seems like it doesn't have it. So we're going to take a walk really quickly around the capital. So, this is a Micro Four Thirds camera. Pretty much I have my experience with Panasonic GH4, and I had rented the GH5 for a 2-day event when I was in New York City. So we're going to test the stabilization on this particular camera. Now I am using the 12 to 40 f3.5 to 5.6 lens, and as you can see, it's a cloudy, overcast day, and it's raining, and the stabilization should be kicking in. I should be in focus now because I have it on continuous autofocus. I also have face detection. But what I did notice is that sometimes it would hunt in the back and focus on the back a little bit. And sometimes it would come back and focus on my face. So you may see that in this video. So take this with a grain of salt, everyone. Take the video with a grain of salt. I am assembling my footage and color graded, and then I would add animations or whatever later on in the process of this first part of the video quality from this camera. As an enthusiast photographer, I'm going to test this camera. So right now I'm at the steps at the Capitol, so we're going to put it through a stabilization test. Ready? We're going to do light steps. And as I walk down the stairs, casual, going down the stairs. Now I am shooting 4K in this video. Set of stairs. We're also going to increase my stepping and do a little bit extreme walking down the stairs. So I'm going to run down the stairs. Now I want to be really aggressive with it. Some stepping, some jumping, so it should be fairly okay footage. Now we're going to walk back up the stairs. By the way, if you guys want to see the Capitol, there's the Capitol. I am using the built-on microphones on this camera. I'm going to do no processing to the audio whatsoever. I'll let you guys test it and make your own judgment for yourselves. I'm giving you guys a sneak peek. Trying to provide content that makes sense. So it's just a really bad camera, and keep in mind that that's the audio coming from this particular camera. The speakers are right here. The microphones are right here. Speakers are on both sides of the camera. In reality, no and yes. Because all manufacturers start off somewhere, right? They learn from their mistakes. Sony has, Nikon has, Canon has, Pentax has, Panasonic has, Fuji has, why not Yi or Xiaomi? Xiaomi is the brand, but so it should look good. It should be focused on my face as I walk. So it's pretty decent. Look at the image quality, how sharp it is. Now I zoomed in 50%. So let me pause this. Let me pause this part right here so you guys can see. I'm going to zoom in 50% so you can see how much detail, how much sharpness, contrast levels. Now, I did color grade this. And I just want you guys to look at that. Look at the detail. Look how sharp from this particular camera. This is a Micro Four Thirds mirrorless camera. This is what the camera that everyone was bashing about. This is the camera that people were talking so much donkey about. Literally. They were talking bad about it. But they purchased it. For one, I'm a big fan of Kai. Right? I love his humor. I love his British Chinese humor. But he never gave it a chance in the long term. I just thought he went too fast with the video. He was just criticizing it. He wasn't giving it enough thought and execution. Now, he did say some good things about the video quality, but after examining the video quality, I think this is such a good video camera for $350. Now, my bundle kit came with two lenses. I got the prime lens and I got the 12 to 40. So, and this is video, ladies and gentlemen. This is all video. Now, I'm going to pause this again. I want to zoom in 50%. Look at that detail. Look at that contrast. Now, I did color grade it. A little minor color grading. But look at it. Look at the footage. It just looks crispy. And at 50%. Now, imagine 100%. Let's zoom in 100%. That is not bad for a Micro Four Thirds camera at 100%. Not bad at all. So if anyone was to bash this camera once more, I would tell them, literally, go back to the drawing board, go read a book about videography, and then make a video. Because there's a lot of content out there with people that have no experience in videography. Because they're just YouTubers and they make content on YouTube doesn't mean they are experts. If you're going to listen to someone, you got to listen to the videographer's point of view. Now, even the professional makes mistakes, but I'm trying to correct someone on a mistake that they never gave this camera a fighting chance. They just gave it away. And I think I'm going to keep this camera. I think I am going to keep it. I think I'm going to actually keep it and test it if I get an adapter for the IRIX 150 micro lens and adapt that on there and see how well that does, because that will turn out to be a 300 millimeter lens f4 lens. So therefore, I have a telephoto lens I have a telephoto micro lens. I don't know what you would call that. A micro telephoto converter lens. I don't know, but man, the bokeh and the depth on that would be amazing. These are all footage for today. Like I said, I'm shooting on a cloudy day, overcast, nice soft lighting too. I'm also going to zoom in this shot at 50% so you guys can see the image quality from this particular camera. Not too bad. Look at the contrast on that. Look at the sharpness. Pretty decent, pretty sharp, in my opinion. I can fix the sharpness just slightly a bit, just to make it a little bit more crispy. I could. If you go to color grade, if you mess with the S curve just a bit. Let me just make sure right about there, and we can mess with the hue, we can mess with the saturation, but you guys get the point. All these shots were handheld on the the Fujitech Monopod selfie stick that I have. 50%. Look at that detail. Look how clean that looks. I use no ND filter. I use no polarizer. I don't have any polarizers for this filter, which is 49. So this is a guide setup, but this is also a little bonus for you people that actually watch the video. So if you guys like the content, please, down in the description below, there's a PayPal donation link. It helps support and keep the lights on here at the Panda Photographer 646 Studios. I have a website, I have a LinkedIn, I have a Twitter, I have a Facebook. I also have an IG at the Panda Photographer. My Twitter is at 646 Studios. My website is 646 Studios. All the links are down in the description below. You don't need a PayPal account to donate to the link, the PayPal donation link down below. It really does help me grow and keep the lights on here. Hello everyone, I just want to give you guys an update on the video quality of this Yi M1 mirrorless micro four thirds camera. Now, I noticed a few things that... So, our conclusion is, it's a good camera, the setup is pretty simple and straightforward. Economics is really great. Now, keep in mind, I want to address this issue again. If you press the O button twice, all the focus points will stay focused, and then you can press record. And the footage that I showed you is how I got my face to stay focused the whole entire process. I didn't hunt. I didn't go off and look in the background, what most people said it does. It didn't do that for me, because I know how to look at the settings and go deep and dive into this camera settings and figure this out myself. Now, take this with a grain of salt. Your experience may be different from mine, but you have any experience with this camera, or if you own it and you now want to play with it after seeing this footage, please let me know down in the comments what you guys think about the quality and the footage that's coming from this particular camera. And yes, ISO 800 was used for most cases. So, with that said, I appreciate the time that you guys are sharing and viewing this content. Please make sure that you do subscribe to this channel, and please do, like, share, and like I said, you guys want to support. The donation link is down in the description below. I'm just trying to provide content that makes sense, and it's actually real world testing. This is a real world test, not some YouTube channel that is trying to get so many views and so many likes because I got a product. No, this is going to help people to make the decision if they want to invest in this camera, and I think people should invest in this camera and give it the time out to actually utilize all the settings as possible. And yes, the lenses are not too shabby. They light in the hand. If you didn't see my live video, me tossing around this camera in my hand and catching it with one hand, it's that damn light. But anyways, but you can mount on Canon glass with a Canon to Micro Four Thirds adapter, which I will be doing, and you can mount other lenses on this camera. You can mount Panasonic lenses and get exceptional image quality by far with this camera. If I did have a Panasonic, say 12 to 24 lens, I think it is, oh man, I'm definitely going to get some really exceptional image quality from that particular lens. The combination of having good optic lens and a beautiful sensor from Sony that is actually Micro Four Thirds. This is for $350 plus, oh well, you can get one lens, which is the 12 to 40, which is counting for about 270, maybe refurbished. New, still $300, but still, this is a really good camera. I definitely recommend it. Now, like I said, thank you for watching. I hope you guys love the bokeh in the background there. Look at that bokeh. That bokeh is delicious. Delicious bokeh. But yes, that's the Sigma 1835 that I've been recording from on the A77 camera. I got this plugged up to my laptop. There will be best OBS. But with that said, everyone, thank you for watching. Eat, sleep, photography, videography, repeat. And I will see you guys in the next live stream. You guys take care. Happy shooting.